Good morning. Genesis 22. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And I just want to say that there's a contrast. Pause for a minute, y'all. I just want to say there's a contrast between the King James and the English Standard, because in 22:1 it says God tested Abraham, but King James it says Abraham tempted. But we know that God doesn't tempt anybody. He'll test you, but he doesn't tempt. So we'll just say it's tested. So tempted, tested, tempt, just about the same thing, really. All right, so I bring that up because it says in the New Testament that God doesn't tempt anyone, but that we are lured away by our own desires. So any type of temptations, that comes from within us. The devil is using that against us, trying to get us to, all that stuff. So, verse 2, and he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. What? This is... And Abraham rose up early in the morning. Now, if this isn't a Christ picture, I don't know what it is. Offer up your son, your only son. This is totally Christ picture. So, once again, he wouldn't ask us to do anything that he hasn't done already, or wouldn't do. God is not going to ask you to do nothing that he wouldn't do, or couldn't do, or hasn't done. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass and took 2 of his young men with him. And Isaac his son clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him. Yes, they called donkeys asses. Okay. So don't quote me. I mean, you can quote me, but all right. For number 4, and on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. Okay, and Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood. But where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. Okay. And let me just say that this whole sacrifice thing, we haven't really seen God instructing us to do it this way to this point. We know that he gives us instructions later when the tent of meeting comes and all that. But up until this point, we really haven't seen instructions about how this is supposed to happen. They're just doing it as far as we know. But this is not different between stuff that's been going on in other religions. The Aztecs, they had blood sacrifices. Death was involved. you know, other deities, Satanism. So it's not uncommon. This whole theme about bloodshedding and bloodletting and death and all this is not uncommon. And you might say to yourself, why is it like that? What is this sacrifice thing all about? God is a mysterious thing. Okay. So when you think about sacrifice in itself, and you know, later on it says that he takes no pleasure in burnt offerings and stuff anymore because their hearts weren't in it. Yeah, they were doing the sacrifices, but they weren't. What he really wanted was them to have to change. It was no pleasure in the sacrifice itself because they weren't doing anything. It lost its meaning. It was supposed to signify the more important change that they were supposed to change. So now we know that, we have clarity now in hindsight, but what I was trying to say was that it's a totally unlogical thing when you think about a sacrifice. You're killing something for no reason other than just to offer it up to an unseen deity. Maybe not unseen, but it just goes out against all logic to do that. To kill an animal, you're not going to eat it. You know, it's just you're doing it for just the whole concept of the sacrifice is just, it's really interesting. And when you think about it, it really doesn't make any sense practically, you know, unless you have a reason, which is, you know, our God. So I just want to throw that out there, that nugget of the concept of these sacrifices of burnt offerings and all that. It's just really interesting and intriguing how they went about this. You know, it goes back times before all this. It goes back ways back about blood sacrifices and death and all of that. You know, they said in the Bible, kids were being offered through the fire to Molech. All kind of just weird stuff with this sacrifice. And it just makes you wonder, like, what is that all about? So yeah, with that being said, we're going to move on. Because, you know, we know what it's about. It's about the Christ. Nothing more, nothing less. It's about getting God's attention. It's about showing God. I'll be honest, I don't know what it's completely about, but it's very deep, it's very interesting, and to me, its surface meaning, it's like, okay, you're giving up something that life had to stop. Life had to be hurt in order to get God's attention. That to me, that's a flag that, wow, God is serious. If you have to kill something for him to be happy, like, wow, that's not something I want to be on the wrong end of, you know. Just to like appease him or get his attention, you have to kill something. Like, wow, like that's pretty serious, you know. So that's what we should be taking away from this. Okay? You know, that God, you know, like for us, like if you're gonna kill something, we're gonna eat it. Don't just kill it just to kill it, and then we're happy, because, you know, that's not what we're about. But apparently God is. So this should be a red flag throwing, hey, I need to take a look at this. I need to be more serious about what God wants, because things are dying just for him to be worshipped. And that's kind of like a red flag. Should be a red flag for us. All right. Now, yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole with the whole sacrifice principle. So, and let me just close with this on that note, is that the Christ came and he was our final sacrifice. Now we offer spiritual sacrifices, and our conduct is a sacrifice. We're giving up our sin, we're doing good things, and that is our spiritual worship. And we just covered that in 1 Peter. I'll go back over that in a minute. In a few minutes. Spiritual sacrifices. Okay. So, And I'm not through, y'all, with the sacrifice thing. So, God ultimately sacrificed his own blood. It's mind blowing. But we see this sacrifices, burnt offerings, they're killing lambs. At some point, it was tons of animals were being sacrificed. Now, what God gets out of that, I'm not sure. All I know is it's wasted life. It's wasted life to appease, just to take it's deep, man, but it's worth looking into, and we'll get there we'll get more into it. So you might say, okay, well, why does he want all this stuff to die? He created this stuff, but now he's somewhat appeased, or he's somewhat this somehow makes everything okay when we kill all this stuff. Don't ask me, I'm not God. I'm just saying that's what's going on. So don't act like you have all the answers and you understand life when you don't even understand why God wants it this way. You don't understand how that makes God okay. You don't understand how that makes things okay. Then you don't understand very much if you're not trying to grasp these concepts. So, about sacrifices and all that, because that's what it's all about. That's what God wanted. So if you don't have an understanding about this, and you absolutely know nothing about God's character and what matters to him. So I'm just trying to let y'all know there's a lot going on in these holy scriptures, and there's a lot going on that you haven't looked into, or you're not, you're just okay with not knowing. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So, and we're going to get into all that. So then, and Abraham said, "My son, God will provide a lamb for a burnt offering." So they went, both of them together. And they came to the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said, "Abraham, Abraham, here am I." And he said, "Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me." So, guys, this is huge, man. Abraham's faith was so strong that the son of promise, the son that the Lord did all of these promises about, he said Sarah's going to have a child, and there's going to be many nations, and blessed through him. And now God is saying, go sacrifice him. So it's going totally, Abraham must be confused, this and that, but he doesn't hesitate. His faith is out the window. And that's one of my key slogans. Out the window. His faith is out the window. He just, okay, God, you got it. He knows when he's beat. He knows there's nothing he can do. He knows God is what he is. He's seen so much. He served God meals. He done so much. He's seen plagues. The Lord spoke to him. He's been him through warfare, with him through warfare. He's made several altars. He has caused him and his wife to conceive when she was in menopause. He was 100 years old. Everything, all these miracles he's seen. So, yeah, that's how it is when God is in your life. You understand he's real, and you just go. So, yeah, Abraham went without hesitation. No questions asked. He's through asking questions. He's just going. His faith is out the window. That means a lot. So he goes as far as he's literally about to strike his son with a knife to kill it before the burnt offering. So, he's just all out. He's giving up everything. He's giving up everything, man. His family, his son, his only son, his blood son. No, his second son. And guess what? God stops him. No, wait. And guess what? Yeah, Jesus thought he was going to die. I mean, people thought that the Christ was dead. No, he didn't die. He just died to go get the keys to hell and come back out. Keys to death. So he died and then he rose again. So, there is no fallout with God. There is no takeaway. Everything God does is going to be a plus. That's just the way God is. There is no takeaway with God. It really is the better option. There is no other option other than, not good things, terrible things. So Abraham realizes that there is no other option. You do what God says, and that's the only option. He's come to he's enlightened. He knows what's going on. He's seen miracles, like I said. So, yeah, he raises up to strike his son, and God says, no, wait. And Abraham lifted up his eyes. No. And he said, lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. We can't withhold anything from God. Not your dope smoking, not your anything, not your gambling addiction, not your atheism, whatever it is. You can't. God is not going to take nothing but your best. Okay. And the Christ is going to help you get there. All right, now, and Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, him behind him. It's going to come to a moment, God's going to have you at your pivotal moment where you're tested. That's what I think. There's going to be tests. There's going to be trials of your faith. There's going to be moments like this, where your whole ideology is on the line. But guess what? You need to pass that test like Abraham did. I'm not telling you to go sacrifice your children. I'm just saying. Period. Don't do that. Now Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering, and said, in the stead of his son. Now that's Christ, man. God provided a way. It's the Christ. It's a ram in the thicket. Period. Christ had no business on that cross. He went up there for us. He was provided for. Okay? Period. This is spiritual alchemy. Take it or leave it. This was a plan, a design that goes through all of time prior to the Christ and leading away from the Christ. It is the pivotal moment in Christ, in time, relating to us, relevant to us, probably to anything. It is the most pivotal moment in time or ever. It is the apex. It is all that. So the cornerstone. So it's the top of the mountain. It's everything you can. It is everything that matters, relevant to you, or everything. So, and Abraham lifted up his eyes, and Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah Jireh, as it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time. And said, By myself I have sworn. By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, but for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on here. I'm not getting into all the Gnostic pre-teachings about the sun and all that, because it's not just the sun, it's the sun in the sky and all that. You know, the sun gives life to the world. It's the same way with the Son of Christ, man, Son of God. So there's so many deep meanings, man, with all this stuff. And Gnosticism is true, I guess, within itself, maybe. But those are levels that aren't relevant to you. What's relevant to us is the Christ and all that. So the Christ is relevant. You know, the sun. You know, it's just multiple stuff going on here. The sun of our galaxy gives us life and all that. And, you know, it's just multiple. Same way with the Christ. He's the sun. He gives us life. So it's just multiple layers of understanding and meaning. But we're just going to stay with what matters, and that's right here. Because, yeah. That in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and the sand, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, that thy seed shall possess the gates of his enemies. Yeah, that's Satan. The gates of hell, the gates of death. So and he said, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. Guys, that's why. It's not because Abraham was this and that. No, Abraham obeyed. He withheld nothing back. He went. He didn't ask. He just went. That's the way we need to be, y'all, with Christ. Just go. He obeyed. It's not because of his physical seed. It's because of his faith. That he is the father of our faith. He's the patriarch. We're Abraham's children through faith. You know, that's what it is. The faith that we have today is modeled after Abraham. That's what it is. We're going to the Christ. We're not turning back. We're not holding anything back. Hopefully. Working on it. You know. But guys, God wants it all. Give it to him. You know, period. It's because he held nothing back. He did the unthinkable. You know, he just simply obeyed. It's about obeying the Christ. Understanding what it is. Getting rid of the sin. Holding nothing back. That's what it's about. Because thou hast obeyed my voice. We're not once saved, always saved. We're not cherry picking. We want to hear the whole Bible. So Abraham returned to his young man, verse 19, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she hath also borne children unto thy brother Nahor. Huz, his firstborn, and Buz, his brother. I don't know if it's Huz or Booz, but Huz, his firstborn, and Buz, his brother, and Kemuel, the father of Aram, and Chized, and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jidlaph, and Bethuel. And Bethuel begot Rebekah. These 8 Milcah did not bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. No, these 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother, and his concubine, whose name was Rumah. She bare also Teba, and Gaham, and Thahash, and Ma'akah. So, that's our reading for the day, y'all. But yeah, and the reason that it's given us these genealogies is because these are the relevant genealogies when it comes to Isaac. He's going to take Rebekah as his wife, and that's going to be his uncle's daughter. So all these genealogies are relevant, tracing back to the Christ, from Adam to the Christ. Take it or leave it. On down to you. That's right, all of the genealogies of the world lead back to Noah and his 4 sons and there's his wives and him. So that's just facts. It is what it is. So, yep. Just, there's a lot going on here, y'all. It's not too much to take on. Okay, so, yeah. The point is that Abraham didn't hold nothing back. There's more meanings here with the son and all that. And there's layered meanings with the Christ and everything. There's layered meanings, the ram in the thicket. The point is that God, the point to take away from this chapter is that Abraham, we are the spiritual seed of Abraham. Why? Because of Abraham's faith. God was pleased with his faith. He said that I'm going to multiply your seed abundantly. He's not talking about physical seed, although, yeah, he is, because it came down his physical seed to the Christ. His genealogy to the Christ. And yeah, it's just a lot going on here with all the multiple meanings. And I'll just cover a couple of them. Yeah, Abraham's lineage goes down by law in marriage down to the family of Joseph and Mary. Okay. Mary conceived the Lord with the Immaculate Conception. I don't know Mary's genealogy, but all I know is it goes back to Joseph, and he was married to Mary. So it's by law down to Joseph, the genealogy. Joseph's parents lead, the genealogies can be traced back through Abraham unto Adam. Okay. But what matters is the spiritual genealogy came from Abraham down through to us. Because when the Christ died, his spirit went everywhere. It came into us. Potentially. It left the temple. It went into everybody. That's the way that works. Okay. God became internal. It's the temple. The temple. The temple is with us. God is with us. And that was the ultimate goal. That's the goal. So I'm not saying that's the end all be all of goals for him. I'm just saying that's what's going on. Is that the goal is that God is going to be landing in us. And then we'll go on. We don't know what the full meaning of that is. All I know is that we're supposed to be living our lives and enjoying it and being inspired and doing the work, bearing fruit. That's what we know. So, multiple meanings here. The Son, he's showing an image of sacrificing, everything he believes in, everything he loves, which is just like Christ, you can't do more than God. No one's going to put themselves on the cross like that and be tortured for the entire world. That's just something that God could do only, or even think of, fathom, or have the power or the wisdom to know or to plan something like that. It's beyond all means, and it's beyond all comprehension to imagine how God did that, and the love and just setting it all up, and it's mind blowing. So, but that's what's going on, and our lives are no less significant, than any of these Bible characters. So we need to acknowledge that we are supposed to be a temple of the Lord, and our lives are no less significant or no less foreshadowed. So realizing that and acting accordingly is a big thing. I have realized that, and I'm just trying to run with it and stick to it. But I can fall just as fast as anybody. I can fall just as fast as anybody. But yeah, guys, it's understanding the vastness of this message and the layers, and understanding it's not just a book to live by the noble, by the faith. No, this is deeper than that. There's deeper meanings, and it's just understanding the worldview and the worldview of all this. What does that mean today? Where are we going? It's just a lot here, man, and I hope we're getting some type of ground on what I'm trying to tell you. But yeah, we're working our way through it. We're making progress. Anybody who's new on this video, I encourage you to go back to like video 4 and get some basis about where I get my theology and why I look at things, where I look at things. Go back to video 3 and 4 and just get some basic stuff, that why I look at stuff, and it's not just face value. There's a lot going on here. So alright, so we're going to move on to 1 Peter. That was a big chapter. Alright. I just can't emphasize the meaning of the cross and what that means today and how that all took place, and understanding the vastness and the planning and all the stuff that went into it and is going into it today, and what that means for us today. It's not a finished thing. Yeah, it's finished. He did what he had to do. But what that actually means for us today, or is supposed to mean. Understanding as much of that as we can. We need to understand as much of that as we can. It's not just, oh yeah, we're Christians, Jesus died for us and that's it. That's true, but there's a lot more to it, to be more intimate with it there's a lot more to it, about how much went into it, how, God knew before the foundation of the world. It involves you. So how much can you understand about that? I'm still learning, all that, but it's deep. It's deeper than the knowledge that I've seen out there. Like, yeah, you can tell somebody, yeah, before the foundation of the world, but what does that actually mean? Like, yeah, literally, all that, it means what it says. So let's talk about what that means. Let's understand that. Let's understand what that means. Before the foundation of the world, he knew Christ was on the cross. How does that make sense? It does. It does. It does. And it applies to you, directly, to you, personally. Personally to you. And it's for your benefit. So, understanding that is a lot. I know I'm trying to give it to you as soft as I can. Okay. 1 Peter. For even hereunto were you called, because Christ also suffered for us. For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us. 2 Peter verse 2, verse 20. And I said I was going to touch on the sacrifice thing. Let's see. I'm just looking, y'all. Bear with me about the sacrifices, about what I said. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, what's up? Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Come on. No, you're all right. Come on.
I'll just see you do the.
Yeah, go ahead. There, go ahead. Okay, guys. So like I was saying about the sacrifices, still looking. Bear with me. Maybe a short day. Okay, here it is. Verse 5, 2 Peter. It says, ye also as living stones are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ. So, yeah. We talked about sacrifices earlier, and there's it is in 2 Peter verse 5. 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 5, it says, ye also as living stones are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ. So we have the contrast there before, all the blood and all the death, that's happening with these sacrifices. But now we have spiritual sacrifices. Okay. Alright, guys. It's going to be a short day. Well, hold on. For even hereunto ye called, because Christ also suffered for us. Okay. Alright. Alright, guys. I'm going to let y'all go for today. It's going to be a short day. See you tomorrow.